how can we make improved access for students in secondary school to quality education. So we thought of, what of putting school lessons on radio. So in the design of the project, we didn't just sit back in our office to design the project, to design how radio school is going to be run. We had to involve the students, we involved the Ministry of Education, we involved principals, teachers, and even experts on curriculum development. And we worked with a company from Poland, and we came up with a lesson format for radio school to make it interesting, because it's going to be on radio. The students are not going to be seeing the teachers teaching. So we came up with an interesting and engaging lesson format for radio school. And radio school is just all about having the curriculum-based lessons on radio, just the same lessons that the students sit in class to listen to their teachers, or then we have it on radio, that a student can just put on the radio and they listen and they learn, they write exams and they pass. So it's not just there to replace what they are receiving in class, it's there to complement what they are receiving in class. But then we had an idea that it's going to be an after-school program. But then after the whole design phase that we had the projects, with continuous advocacy visits to the ministries, and we are constantly feeding them with what we are having from the field, they felt, oh, this is a good idea, that why don't we let all the schools be part of this project instead of instead of the 17 schools that we have. So in Enugu, actually, sorry, I forgot to mention that the project is being implemented in Enugu State and in Adamawa State too.
Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Chidozie Okeke, and I work with CC Hub, particularly Relearn, which is our education practice. What we try to do at Relearn is help students and schools use technology in smart ways to improve learning. And by way of background, we had run some projects in Lagos, Bauchi, and Jigawa, the EFICO program. And the results from that program showed us the need to better curate and curate content that was engaging and interactive for students. It helped us, it showed us the need to get facilitators, educators who would support children in the classrooms and design some kind of personalized learning experience for the children. And so what we've done with MacArthur for this project over a 2-year period is we've curated content, STEM content in particular for senior secondary students. The plan of the program is to run in 3 different states, Lagos, Kano, and Jigawa, to reach 1,000 students in senior secondary school, in SS1 and SS2, in 20 different schools, 12 of those schools being girls' schools, and the remaining 8 different mixed schools. And so what we've done is we've curated STEM content for physics, chemistry, biology, and mathematics. We've also recruited teachers, young people who are passionate about technology and are willing to work with children. And then we've also taken school teachers in these 20 schools, so that's a total of about 40 teachers from the schools and 20 educators, and then working with them extensively to train them on how to deliver content using technology. And we've also done some research, and we've carried different stakeholders. So for most of the demos that we've run, especially in Lagos, we've carried the ministries along. We've tested the content with students, we've tested the content with teachers, we've invited staff from the districts, from the ministries to come and see the content and determine how appropriate the content is and how we can better deliver this content in schools. And over a 2-year period, we'll be taking educators to shadow and learn from the school teachers and then create a community of practice where teachers in different schools are sharing best practices and are teaching other staff in the schools how to best deliver content using technology. And we believe that from the results that we'll get, we'll be able to drive some kind of leadership and vision for other institutions that are willing to use technology in the classroom. I'll stop here for now.
Thank you. So, British Council.
All right, thank you. I sneaked myself onto the table here. I was not called. My name is Boniface Ushir. I work for the British Council as Director of Research. The work that we did with the MacArthur grant was, we managed the grant for Makato. It was a research grant. The research was conducted by a team of researchers from the University College London and some from universities in Nigeria. What that research was about was to see how, if newly trained teachers could translate issues of gender equality and inclusiveness that they are taught while in teacher training, if they can translate that into practice when they become teachers. So the research followed a cohort of teachers when they were still in school in their final year, followed them through after graduation, and also maybe 2 years after graduation to see if they have already obtained jobs, and while on the jobs, if they are using the knowledge that they obtained, particularly related to gender and inclusion, if they are using that, and if it's helping them as they teach in secondary schools. So basically, that's what we do. So when you come back, I'll give more details. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You were very brief. So let's.
Hello everyone. I think I'll be briefer. Okay, my name is Ian Nowarn. I work with TEP Center, but on the Learn Nigeria project, which is an acronym for Let's Engage, Assess and Report Nigeria. Well, we've worked with MacArthur Foundation. We manage the grant as well, in terms of working with the grantees for MacArthur Foundation grant. Now, Learn Nigeria fits into all the work that is being done in the girls' secondary education sphere, because what we do is, it's an advocacy program, not just an assessment program, but also an advocacy program. And then the focus is on foundational literacy and numeracy skills. Now, if girls at the foundational level are not able to, graduate to secondary school, they probably wouldn't have the grant. So, essentially, Learn Nigeria is all about getting citizens involved in the process of assessing their children, assessing members of their communities, and also being able to understand the level at which what their children know exactly in terms of numeracy and literacy. And also we've gone into local language literacy. We had our pilot in 2015, and that was done in 2 states, so Lagos State and Kano. But now we've scaled up to additional 4 more states, so we have 6 states now. And we'll be working in 6 local governments in each of these states. I think I need to be as brief as possible.
So thank you so much. I think I will talk about my own organization. The name of my organization is Center for Girls Education, and we are in Zaria, Kaduna State. And basically, Center for Girls Education is educating girls in the classroom and beyond. Why I said in the classroom and beyond is because we work with girls that are in school and girls that are out of school. We are a learning hub for safe spaces for girls. And what our MacArthur work what we do with our MacArthur work is for us to ensure a transition from primary to secondary school for girls in very rural communities around Nigeria, around Kaduna State in Nigeria. And we started the grant with about 2,000 girls. It was our pilot, and we were able to scale to about, we're reaching about 14,300 girls now. And we are working not just in Kaduna, we are working in Kebbi State too. And the Canadian are funding some of the scale-up projects through UNFPA for us to reach as many girls as we can. So I think I will stop here because I've been saying everybody should be brief. So I will be the one that will lead by example. Thank you. So we'll come back to other panelists. If you had anything to add, but just for 1 minute, so that we can go around again and then we'll open the floor for questions. Is that okay? 1 minute, agreed? Okay. So we'll start from the last person that spoke here. Okay.
Okay. So when I talked about the MacArthur grant that British Council managed, I need to tell you that this was in 5 Nigerian states, in Jigawa, Kano, Sokoto, Lagos, and Rivers State. Now, what that research did was we followed a large cohort of students. They were still students at the point when we met them. They were in their final year in their training. Some were from the university and some were from colleges of education. So, and we found out what they were being taught with regards to gender and equity and inclusion, and followed them after graduation. So some of the things we found with this research are very interesting. One, most of the people who are studying education courses in our universities and colleges in our universities did not initially plan to study education. So you see people who plan to study law or political science or sociology or other courses, when they did not have admission, they just moved over to education. Now here's a problem. These are the people who will end up being teachers of our children. Oh, sorry. Am I taking too? Oh, God. All right, okay. Sorry, I thought it was time to dig into this thing. All right, sorry.
So thank you. No, I think you should give to the next person. Yeah, it is. I think anybody that wants to hear more and reach to him after the session. Thank you.
Okay, so I touched briefly on content the last time, but what we've done with our network is that we've gone ahead to recruit young people who, like I said earlier, were hungry and passionate about technology and wanted to work with children. And then we've been able to measure the impact of our intervention in schools. And so what we did was we selected a treatment group, and this group was taken from three different categories. So students who were high performers in class, using results from examinations, mid-level performers and low-level performers. And so what we've done over time is that after the program, we've been able to see, so were these people able to move vertically across these profiles? And so we are tracking the progress as they are learning, and we're tracking with assessments, continuous assessments, whether they are able to transit. And then there's a control group. So the people who have received this intervention, has there been any impact? When compared or benchmarked against those, the control group, and we've been able to see remarkable progress from what we've done.
Thank you.
Okay, so one more minute. So the Learn Nigeria project is targeted at children between 5 and 15. We assess children between 5 and 15 years old. But the survey, because we collect socioeconomic data from the parents, from the households as well. For that, we target from 3 years old to 15. So we are looking at children who are not yet in school, who are also in school, and who have dropped out as well. Because this is a household assessment, it's not school-based. So we are also dealing with children who are not in school at all. And we've pegged it at the grade 2, primary 2 curriculum in a way so that if a child at 15 years old is not able to do a particular task, you know that the foundation is weak and very bad. And we went through a test development process with a number of collaborators. So we've had curriculum experts as part of the team. We've had people from ministries of education. We've had people from suburbs as well as part of the process. And the idea is, at the end of the day, if the foundation is weak, what do we hope to see in the future? So essentially, this is all about us getting the basics right from the onset. Thank you.
Then the next. South Sahara.
Yeah. Okay. Roger School Project, which is in its pilot phase, is supposed to work in 17 schools in Enugu State and also in 21 schools in Adamawa State. But luckily for us, I would use that word, we got buy-in from the state government in both states, and we've been able to, the state government in Enugu mandated all the schools in Enugu State, all the public schools, in Enugu State, to be part of the project. So right now in Enugu, you go to the school, Bridges is an in-school program where in the school timetable, there's a time set out for radio school, that once it's that time, the teacher brings the radio to class and puts it on, and the students listen. So in Adamawa 2, instead of the 21 schools, now we have 150 schools in Adamawa. And I could say that we've been able to reach at least 30,000 students with graduate school in Enugu and in Adamawa states.
Thank you. Very brief. Okay, I'll try to be as brief as possible. Okay, so for us, Mercy Corps, I think one of the key achievements we've been able to have is our work with the government, because we intend to institutionalize financial literacy and professional guidance and counseling in the state. And we were so fortunate that right from the design and planning stage, we carried the government along, and this has helped us to facilitate the approval of the Executive Council to roll out financial literacy across government girls' secondary schools in Kano State. All the girls' secondary schools in Kano, both junior and senior classes. And for example, some of the agencies like the Science and Technical Board have also asked us to expand it to their boys' schools with their own funds, and Agency for Mass Education, because we work with girls between the ages of 15 to 19, and we know that Agency for Mass Education has older women. They've also requested us to also duplicate that for their other schools, which we have also done. And we have worked with a lot of partners. For example, we've been able to set up 14 education management information system in the 14 educational zones in the state, so that this will help in capturing data and making it easier and accessible. We have also supported the Kano State Secondary School Management Board to also set up education management information system. Thank you so much.
In 2015, we commissioned the research on the craft subjects that have been introduced by NERDC recently. The research was done in collaboration with the Center for Entrepreneurship Studies in BUK, Bayero University, Kano. It looked at two key issues. One, it tried to assess the capacity of teachers in secondary schools in Kano and Jigawa in terms of entrepreneurship education and also craft subjects. Two, the research assessed did content analysis of the craft subjects curriculum. Now, after that, we engaged the relevant stakeholders to really see how the problems or the findings of that research can be addressed. One, the craft curricula contains purely technical skills. It doesn't contain entrepreneurship education. That's one. Two, in Kano, for example, there is 1 to 94, one teacher to 94 students ratio. One entrepreneurship teacher to 94 students. And 80% of them are not really trained entrepreneurship teachers. That was the problem. Now, that was the evidence. Now, we worked with the relevant stakeholders, like we collaborated with Kano State Government to sponsor a memo at JCCE seeking for incorporation of the entrepreneurship education into the craft subject. Fortunately for us, they told us that NERDC is reviewing that curriculum. So we now went back to NERDC and we are now working with them to support the process of reviewing that curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you. The Bloom Plus project in Calabar, I would like to mention that we are working in two local governments in Calabar, the Calabar South and Oju local government. Don't mind me if I don't pronounce it. Now, the focus is to teach these young people negotiation skills, career guidance, and other personal choices as they grow old. There's something very common in this area. Like in Calabar South, it's known for youth restiveness. You see young people going to secret court and the rest of that, rioting, bloodshed, and something similar also happening elsewhere. And there is another common decimal among these two local governments. Early marriage for girls. You see girls of 11, 12, they are just leaving primary school and their parents force them to marry. Just 2 weeks ago, we were in Calabar to have a graduation ceremony for some of the beneficiaries of this training. And they're from different wards because the training is divided into wards, and a number of students are being mentored or taught by facilitators. There was drama from like each of these wards. One beautiful thing was that all of them, they had one unified theme in their presentation. It was about early marriage. But thankfully, some of them, from what they have learned how to negotiate with their parents. Some of the beneficiaries who were already going to get married to people who are as old as their fathers, they were able to negotiate with their parents respectfully, and now they are back to school.
Thank you so much. For Center for Girls Education, I told you that primarily we deal with safe spaces. We work with community and religious leaders in the rural communities and with local government education authorities for us to be able to better serve the girls. Teachers are trained to become mentors, and they take their trainings not just into our safe spaces, but back to their regular classes where it's helping impacting more on both girls and boys. So we have a huge number of indirect beneficiaries from our safe spaces. And we are proud to say that we've been working with other organizations to be able to move our work forward and scale these safe spaces to as many schools as possible. And we are hoping that our work will reach the entire North and then Nigeria as a whole. Thank you. I think for now we'll open the floor for questions for any of the organizations that are present here. So the floor is open for questions, please. So we'll start with the middle. The first lady, the lady in yellow.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Oyewusi Bosedi from University of Ilorin. My question goes to Sub-Saharan lady. My question is, the radio program, since you said the teacher brings the radio to class to teach, does it take care of individualized learning? What I mean is, can a pupil take the software or take a radio to rewind and listen after the class? Does the program take care of that? Because student learns at different rates, and we will expect that
the radio program is not just, it's not CDs that you bring to class and you slot into a radio and they listen. The radio is, the lessons are live lessons on radio, as in the lessons are already pre-recorded and they'll be sent to radio stations. So once it's that time, in Enugu we use Radio Nigeria. So once it's that time, the teacher brings the radio to class to tune to that station, so they listen. In Adamawa, we use Go Tell Radio. So, but then the lessons are from Monday to Saturday. So on Saturdays, students can stay in their houses and make use of the radio in their house and listen, tune to the radio station once it's time for radio school, and then listen to radio school. And then it doesn't replace what they get in class. It's just a complement to what they are getting in class. The teachers have their own time to teach, but they also have radio school time. So everything is just infused in the timetable.
Thank you. So the next question.
Thank you so much. Still on radio school. It's a beautiful innovation in teaching and learning activities. And I want to ask, At what level of education is this done? 1. 2. What are the subject areas does this program cover? Then, how far have you been able to measure or evaluate the effect on the pupils or students? When you're talking of students, that's secondary school.
Secondary school.
Okay, so it's really meant for secondary school students.
Secondary student JSS2, we are focused on JSS2. And the subjects are the 4 core subjects, which is English, Maths, Basic Science, and Civic Education. And how we've been able to measure impact. Before we started the project, we did a baseline study. And then we know the level of the students' academic performance. So now that they've been listening to radio school, they've listened first term, they've listened second term and third term. And all these terms, we've been following them up, monitoring the schools and the students' performance. And we've been checking their schools' results, termly schools' results, and we've been able to measure impact. And so we've been getting positive results. When you look at the baseline and what we've gotten so far, there's an improvement in the academic performance of the students in the 4 subjects.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a good innovation. In my own university too, we do it. Lead City University. There's radio school. We operate it.
The young man, see him here. He was radio business.
Still a radio program. Can we take a couple of questions so maybe you just take notes?
Specific is because we're doing different things, and one thing will take all the questions into my class.
So I don't think you have the same buy-in in Adamawa, in all these schools. What was the challenge? How did you negotiate with the Enugu State government to get their buy-in, and you don't have this, or do you envisage buy-in of Adamawa?
I didn't get it.
Okay, my question is, you have full support of Enugu State government, but in Adamawa you don't have such. Okay, in all the schools?
Yes, in Adamawa we are focused on 150 schools in Adamawa State.
Okay, not all the schools?
Yes, we have support of the government in Adamawa State, but not to the level of support we have from Enugu State government.
Okay, so please let us, as many questions as, I don't know, that you want to take, let's just take notes of the questions and then we can answer afterwards.
Thank you. My question to the radio program, so it's going to be 10 this time around. By way of introduction, my name is Olayinka. I'm from First Step Action for Children Initiative, Benue State, Makodi. We have our offices in Nasarawa, Adamawa, and Benue State. I want to talk on the role that you are talking about, the intervening for the children who are actually affected by crisis. Am I right? Yeah. I don't know if you have any plan to extend to Benue State, because we all know that in Benue State now, especially on girls' education, because that's our focus. We focus on children and girls' education to be specific. I don't have any plan to scale up to Benue State. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chinere. I wanted to ask a question, well, they're like tiered questions. So my first one is, I would like the panel to kind of like enlighten us on how much collaboration is happening between all of you. And how many of you are working in silos. The second thing would be, again, to all of you, what's the plan for mainstreaming what you're doing into the schools themselves, and education, for mainstreaming what you're doing directly into the schools themselves? Or are you perpetually running those initiatives at the scale that you're running them? So for instance, the radio program is in 2 states. How does it get to every state? How is it something that's going to be run by you, or will it eventually enter into the formal structure of the education system? Then the third question kind of like is related to that. I don't know if you heard, did you understand the second question I was asking? I was saying that you're running individual initiatives. Do those individual initiatives connect each other? That's the first question. How are you guys working together? The second one was like each of the initiatives themselves eventually is kind of like a test. You're doing like almost like pilots. How do those pilots then become mainstreamed into the larger education ecosystem? Or are you going to just build your own organizations and your own initiatives after MacArthur has stepped aside? The third question I think is also related to that, which is, shouldn't there be at some point a way of ensuring that the system itself generates the kind of data that you're putting out? I mean, if you're, for instance, you're introducing a curriculum change or pedagogy or something, shouldn't this actually be part and parcel of what the school itself does, so that the learning and the content and the data comes out of the normal process of going to school, as opposed to having interventions?
My name is Yemi Adebayo, Cambridge Education. I'm working with the DFID program in Lagos, supporting private education, developing effective private education in Nigeria. My question is to the radio lady. I want to find out, to what extent do you communicate your intervention to all the stakeholders in Enugu State and Adamawa State? Do you think if I go to Enugu State now and ask any teacher or somebody in the Ministry of Education in either of the two states, will they be able to say something about what you are doing? Because we found out that many of the interventions we do, not very many of the stakeholders really know what we are doing. Even when the intervention is claimed to be successful, you will ask some of the participants to tell you what the intervention is about, and they are just racking their heads. Thank you.
Okay, let's just take this last question.
Good afternoon all. My name is Anne Chinekwe. I work with Rescue and Restore NGO. And my question goes to the radio lady again. But maybe this time around, I want to find out, you know, you talked about your ability to get the support of the government, both in Enugu and Adamawa, and working in Rescue and Restore, and with all that we have said today, we know that it's been very difficult to access the government. I want to know, how were you able to do that? How did your organization get the support of the government? Thank you.
So thank you so much for your questions. I think we'll start with Plan International, because the first question was for him. So let's hear.
Okay, the question is about if we have plan to scale up our programming to Benue State. Yeah, I will tell you, yes, in principle, but that is dependent on a number of factors, principally the funding. Just about a year ago, we were, Plan International in Nigeria were in 4 states, but as I speak with you, we're in 12 states, and our target is to be the biggest country office in Plan Federation, because we're in 70 countries. In West and Central Africa, our plan is, our focus, our objective is to be the biggest, not just be the biggest in quality, in the amount of intervention and the rest of that. And of course, Benue State is part of that. But I would like to quickly advise this, because the interventions that often come, they're often based on baseline. We try to be smart, to be strategic and systematic. So if you as a local NGO, if you have got a very beautiful proposal that indicates the amount of challenge you are talking about the care child, please feel free to share with us. We can scale it up and we'll sell it to a donor, and you never can tell. We'll just pick up from there. Thank you.
For the questions of grantees collaboration, I think Umar should be able to share more light. And Mexico will talk to you about how we do our pilot. So the two of them can answer this.
Okay. On the issue of collaboration, Mexico and DRPC are working in Kano, but DRPC works in Jigawa in addition to Kano. So one of the focus areas is GNC, Guidance and Counseling. So Mexico works in Kano and support GNC. Now, what we normally do is to get the Jigawa State Ministry officials working on GNC to come together with the Kano officials working on GNC to share their experiences, to learn from each other. So we work on GNC, but with specific emphasis on Jigawa. Now, Mexico works on GNC, but in Kano. So we do collaborate. Whenever we're going to have a meeting, we work with Mexico to bring their own people they train, the people they train, to share their experiences. British Council, we have had series of engagement with the British Council. For the rest, they are a bit far from us.
Coming together as grantees.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Even last 2 months, I think we were together. So I think
even this panel was a product of that collaboration. After a meeting we had, sometimes 2 months ago, I think, we agreed that we're going to have this symposium to discuss our innovations.
Yeah, from the meeting that he's just alluded to, all of us came together and decided that it's not okay to just work as individual organizations, but to come together and do something that will focus a lot more attention on the girl child's education. So what we started from that meeting and is ongoing is about raising champions for girls' education. So what we intend to do is, or what we are working on doing, is to get people like yourselves to champion the idea of girls' education in your communities, in your homes, in your organizations, to become the champions that wherever you are, you will speak for keeping girls in school. I mean, not just enrolling girls in school, but making sure that they are retained in school. So as a group, that's what we are currently working on. And we do have meetings from time to time to touch base on what each of us are doing and to look for areas that maybe a more established organization can also be of help to the organizations that are in need of such support. So basically the answer is yes, we are working together and we will continue to work together. Thank you.
I just want to add to what he has also said. While DRPC is also intervening in areas of entrepreneurship skills, we are also intervening in the same locations on financial literacy because they go hand in hand. You learn how to you learn skills, but you also need to learn how to manage your resources. So that's the way how we work. And the aspects of GNC he also mentioned. We are also providing technical support for Jigawa State GNC, and we are already planning for a capacity building for the GNC officials in the Ministry of Education and its agencies in Jigawa State. Okay. So,
okay.
The gentleman that asked a question about institutionalization. For DRPC, what we normally do is to act as intermediary between government and government, between government and CSOs. Let me give you an example. During our pilot phase, our own focus was on 4 core subjects: English, mathematics, civic education, and then 1 trade subject. We did capacity building for teachers on these 4 key areas. Now, what we did was to look at government institutions and ministries that have expertise that can do training on these 4 core subjects. And we use them to train the teachers in schools. So our aim was to show the government that you have this expertise in some of your institutions. Use them to train your own teachers in school. Because clearly most of them, after the introduction of the curricula, they were not trained. They didn't undergo any training. So, and then another example that I can give you is, we also acted as intermediary between, okay, what we normally do is to strengthen capacity. We don't work directly. We strengthen the capacity of the officials, the teachers, so that they can do their work effectively. So we don't work directly. So the system, it's, the work is institutionalized, and it's, they are doing the work.
So thank you. And about the pilots, most of our grants, we started with pilot projects, and TEP Center, with the help of ExpandNet, assist us in trainings that were relevant for us to scale up our projects. So I think TEP Center have been doing a very good job by getting us together, helping us to do, giving us technical support to help in our work to expand and to scale to as many girls as we can. So we'll go back to the radio lady and then see British Council hand over the mic, yeah.
I have two questions here. The first one said, to what extent do we communicate to our stakeholders? Right from the design of the project, we were in touch with the stakeholders. I mean, the Ministry of Education, the post-primary school board, the principals, the teachers, even the students. So from the design, they were with us, and throughout the implementation, the ministry and the PPSMB, they were also with us. So each time we have something like, for example, when we did the baseline survey, we shared the result with them, and we have this advisory committee meeting. The advisory committee, the members are from the ministries in both states, the PPSMB in both states, principals and teachers in both states. So, and even our partner, because we have a partner in Adamawa, and each time we have something and we publish a report, we share we come together, we have a meeting, and we share our findings. And also, now that the project is in the broadcast phase, and we are monitoring, we are going around the schools in the two states to find out what is happening. We also involving the ministry and the PPSF in the monitoring. We don't just go alone, we go with them. And also they go on their own to monitor to see what is happening. So we are not just doing it alone, but we are telling them each step we are taking, and we are sharing what we are getting from the field with them. So to the question on how we got support of the government in both states, it's because we partnered with them from the beginning, so they know everything about the project. So the Commission of Education in Enugu State recognized the benefits of the project and felt that this is a good idea. Why don't all the students benefit? Why just the 17 schools? Because we chose one school per local government, 17 local governments in Enugu, and so it's one local government in Adamawa. So why just one school, one local government? Why don't you make it accessible to all the students, to all the public schools in Enugu State? So that was how a memo was sent out to all the schools, and they were mandated to add radio school to their regular timetable. And in Adamawa, due to the last year, the Adamawa State governor declared state of emergency on education, and radio school, because they are also involved in radio school process from the design and everything. They know about it. So they felt that radio school is a good idea, and they gave radio school the support that it needed, but due to limited funding, we couldn't just go to all the schools in Adamawa, because we have up to 400 something schools in Adamawa. So we had just 150 schools being part of radio school. So that's how. That's the state of emergency declared on education actually supported the huge buy-in we got in Adamawa State, and in Enugu State, it was just, we've been working on the relationship we have with the commissioner.
So I think we have come to the end of this session, and please, I want you to give a round of applause to all my able panelists that are doing very good work for the girl child. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you to GSC, our MacArthur GSC grantees. I hope that we all got something from what they have said, and even for the GSC grantees, I hope that the questions that have been asked and the points that have been made is something that you need to go back and also have a conversation about. Please, if there is anyone here who collected DRPC materials yesterday but didn't register, didn't write their names down, please, their stand is still there, they're waiting for you so that they'll have your details. There were some people who collected their materials yesterday but they didn't register. Please give them a round of applause as they go to their seats. Also, another information, please, if you were not one of those who registered online for Nedis 2017, that means we didn't have your contact details. Please do well to see any of my colleagues at the back so that they can get your contact details. So that some of the materials, especially the materials that were shared during the other plenary sessions and even the workshop, will be shared with everyone, both those who have. We have most people's email addresses, but there are some people that we do not have their email addresses. So please, if you didn't register online before coming yesterday or today, please see my colleagues at the back. All right, we have come to the end of our session today, but there is one more thing that we will be doing. I'm not going to say a lot, I'll just get out of your way. And please, with a round of applause, welcome Dr. Modukwe Adefeso Latin.
Could have gone on for a few more hours. Unfortunately, Sheraton will put us out. We don't leave by our country and not in school. And that is against their fundamental human rights. Children are not in school. A lot of children. The figures bandied around during this summit have ranged from 9 million to 24 million. So the point is that children are not in school. Two, those that are in school are not learning. We are doing our very best to make sure that children, especially those that are poorer, learn. But the reality is that the majority of children in school today are not learning. And we know this because of the results that we see when they write examinations and when they take assessments. And three, even those that are quote-unquote learning, they go through school. They pass the examinations, they come out of school, they are not getting jobs. So they do not have means for a sustainable livelihood. If that is not a challenge, I don't know what a challenge is. However, I think the conversations over the last couple of days have given me a bit more hope than perhaps I came into the summit with. We've had plenary sessions, parallel breakout discussions, we've had workshops, we've had an exhibition, we've even had a drama, we've had a lot of networking, we've trended on Twitter for 2 days, we've done a lot. We've been very busy with our Twitter. And what I'd like to do today or this evening as we leave is just try, I think I have the most difficult job, because I'm going to try and condense all of these conversations into a 5-minute recap, which of course does not do any justice to the richness of the conversation.
But it's just to bring us back, to make sure that we're all on the same page regarding what has come out of this particular summit. 3 main areas. One has to do with evidence generation. The second has to do with strategic communications. And the third has to do with collaboration. I think these are the 3 big areas that we spent a lot of time discussing during the course of the summit. In terms of generating evidence, I think we all agree that there is need for rigor in how it is that we collect data on our projects and how we collect data about the projects that we're implementing. How we collect monitoring data to make sure that we are checking whether we are on track, how we evaluate our own projects, and how we produce evidence that what we're doing either works or does not work. And I think even from the research workshop, there was a clear call for clarity in terms of our objectives, for our research to be contextual, and for it to be participatory, involving all the stakeholders in the process. And for us to be able to make a dent in this evidence to policy and action discourse, we need to first start with evidence, isn't it? Which is quite different from information, which is different from data. So we need to move up a little bit in terms of complexity and nuance in the research that we collect, so that at the end of the day, we're not just producing figures and case studies, but we're actually making strong statements about policy imperatives, policy directions, and other aspects of policy within our country. We also, I think there was a very strong call for us to engage with a range of stakeholders when we design our projects, when we implement our projects, and when we evaluate the effectiveness of our projects. Policymakers, partnership and collaboration with them is imperative because the government has the apparatus to reach millions of children, which is often very difficult for private sector or for civil society organizations to do. They can actually help institutional scaling up efforts. It is important to engage with donors because they have resources. Resources that can help us to design projects and implement them, to be able to pilot initiatives and begin to take them to scale. The donors have charged us to hold them to account. They say that we do not do that enough. And we're also, I think there was also a cautionary note that donors are not going to solve our problems in our country. We are going to solve our problems in our country. And it's very important that if we're going to access resources, that we must be prepared to design and implement programs that have empirical research, rigorous research embedded in their design. It is also important for us to engage the private sector because there's a lot of knowledge sharing and learning to be derived. And I think that we have very good examples of how the private sector implements and collects data, implements projects, collects data, and I think there are lessons to be learned there as well. In terms of cross-sectoral learning, obviously we had a few voices from the health sector, and I think that they also provided very, very good information on how it is that they position and design their projects to be able to come up with research findings, to derive research findings that are ultimately able to influence policy. And I think that one of the things that we touched on was technology. So there are fantastic opportunities for us to embed technology into our projects for scale, for quality, to monitor our project activities and our results, and to provide opportunities for us to leapfrog and to do things in a little bit more efficient a way than we might otherwise have been able to. So that's the first thing, evidence generation. I think the second big area of discussion was around strategic communications. And we all agreed that there is need for a more strategic approach to how we design communications. And it is important for us to begin our projects and our programs with the end in mind. Who is the audience? What is the message? What do we want to pass across? How do we want to pass it across? This does not come at the end of the project. This actually comes at the start of the project. Again, I believe that there are several lessons to draw from other sectors, especially the private sector, in terms of how clear they are in their strategic communication and what sort of opportunities there are for us to learn a bit more about how it is that the private sector is able to implement strategic communication in the work that they do. and also to learn how it is that they decide on what sort of platforms to use and how to maximize the use of those platforms. We also learned that strategic communication need not be expensive because there are low-cost ways of strengthening communications. But I think that there's consensus that this is an area of expertise, so we need not hesitate to bring in experts to help us to think about our communications in a more strategic approach. One method that we are able to use as an organization to do this is collaboration. So we collaborate with other organizations so that we can afford the services of very, very good communications firms. And this is an action that I would encourage us all to do as well. And I think that we all agreed that collaboration, still on the note of collaboration, I think the last panel, the Girls Secondary Education panel, is a very good example of collaboration. They've been working together for about a year and a half because they're all recipients of grants from MacArthur's Girls Secondary Education Program. And TEP Center has been supporting them with strategic communications and dissemination, monitoring and evaluation, extracting learnings from their projects. And we've watched them evolve, you know, from the projects that were at a conception phase to projects that we're now talking about results of. So we're very proud of the work that they have done. And I think the third big area, the first being evidence generation, the second being strategic communication, the third big area really is around collaboration and partnership. And I think there was not a panel that did not emphasize the need and importance for this. And we think that it's fantastic that within this room there exists a platform, amongst this network exists a platform that offers opportunities for us to learn, to share, to co-create knowledge materials, and to collaborate for policy engagement. And that platform is Nigerian, the National Innovation Coalition for Education, which we call NICE. And at the end of this summit, you will be asked to please complete evaluation forms. Within those evaluation forms, if you are interested in becoming a member of NICE, I think there is an email address that you send a message to nedis@tepcenter.com, but all the information is in there. So if you complete it, we can get back to you. And I think in terms of what the next steps are for NICE as an initiative, we need to strengthen the Central Working Committee so that they can in turn strengthen the network. What we plan to do as an organization is to begin to organize this network so that we are a supportive, self-supporting network, and to continue and build on what we have already achieved, which is sharing resources, sharing knowledge. I think DRPC was out there sharing information about how to access certain grants and grant opportunities. It's that sort of very, very, you know, very generous spirit that we want to encourage amongst ourselves. And so we think that NICE is a platform that will continue to encourage us to do that. So sharing of resources, sharing capacity as well. So where there are capacity needs, creating opportunities for us to support each other, skill up ourselves as well. We are going to be organizing a series of workshops on strategic communication, on research design, and a few other areas. So again, if you're interested in being part of this, please do let us know. Also, in terms of next steps, I think that strategically, we are going to be producing some knowledge materials which should help you in your work. There is a toolkit for systematic scaling up, which is being finalized as I speak to you. And this really takes a lot of the work that has been done in the health sector to embed systematic scaling up into the education sector. So we're taking, again, learnings from health and putting them into the education sector. And so this toolkit will be available to us all in the next couple of months. We'll send you an email regarding that. We are also putting finishing touches on what we're referring to as an education sector digest, which is being led by our associate fellow, Bumiade Fisayo at the back. This is a resource that hopefully gives you a bird's eye view of education in Nigeria. A lot of times we argue that there is no data, there is no data. Well, we've spent a lot of time getting as much data as we can find on the education sector, and we're again making that freely available to any and everybody who wants it. But I think before we leave, it's worth spending a few minutes to get some thoughts from you regarding what the direction of the coalition should be. Because the coalition is a platform that we have to do good work, to learn and to share in between the Nedis events. So between now and when the next event comes, we have this platform and we must establish some priorities on this platform. So if there, I don't know if there are a few thoughts or suggestions regarding what we should be doing, either in terms of producing knowledge or in terms of working together to influence policy. Please let's have those thoughts now, and we will document them and they will feed into the communique, which is going to be disseminated to everyone here and everyone who wants it that is not here. So there was one hand here, and I'm going to be taking notes. I think other people are taking notes as well.
Good afternoon. My name is Adeleke Damian here. I work with Sakefa. What I want us to put in place is, you know, somebody mentioned the EPIs, and we'll be talking about data, and we'll have a situation whereby some persons are working in silos, and in most cases, some people are, will I say, they hold their information, they don't want to share. So if we can have a kind of a platform, it could be online, it could be through the web, then members can now start sending in information. Then if we have data that maybe they are just invariants or maybe they are scattered everywhere. So in that platform, we can now have a place whereby whatever you're doing during your monitoring and evaluation, whether on girl child, whether on policy or whatever, you can feed in that information there. Then from there, we'll be able to have that data that we'll be looking for. So that's just what I want to say. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody, and let me use this opportunity to thank you for having us for the very fruitful sessions. I looked at your evaluation form and the point where you asked about whether or not we would be comfortable paying a fee for this next time. To me, it's just pointing in the direction that maybe Nedis 2018 will be paid for. My honest opinion is that a lot of the young NGOs won't be able to come, honestly. I do agree that what you pay for, you give value to, but this is knowledge that money can't buy. So I think we should truly look for other alternatives for doing this rather than being paid for. Thank you.
No, we are speaking on NICE. Yes, the NICE book. So if you have anything that you think should go into the NICE initiative. Do we have any other, specifically for NICE? We'll take general feedback, but... Okay, so she's asking how we join. We just, you can see any of my colleagues at the back, and then they will register you. You can send an email to nedis@tepcenter.com if you want to be a part of it.
Thank you very much. I think you mentioned something like building a coalition. Coalition building is not a very simple task. If we can focus on this coalition building and achieve it, I think if we do that within 1 year, we have achieved a lot, because it will take us into looking at what builds us, what brings us together, and what we can share together. And by the time we identify areas of commonalities, differences, and interests, for example, if we look at this if we look at us here now, almost every organization or individual have different interests or focus. So if we can identify key areas that will sustain the coalition, that is very important. We might agree to meet to work to build that coalition. We might do that, but sustaining it is a very serious challenge. So part of the issues we might focus on might be how to build and sustain. And for example, almost every organization here wants visibility, especially young ones. They want visibility. If the coalition creates a platform for creating an opportunity for organizations to not just to showcase their work, but also for to expose some of the peculiar things about them and what they do, market their products, not just marketing themselves. I mean, because we are focusing on what are you doing best, what can we know you for in Nigeria, not just who are you. So by the time we do that, some organizations might find it very interesting to continue because it has a value for them. In Nigeria, we say the one that carries a palm front is the person goat follows. So if we can get a palm front for the goat to follow, at least for the next 1 year, I think we have achieved a lot.
Well, my name is Tayo, and I want to first and foremost say thank you. It's my first time here, and I think it's amazing. I think I've learned a lot being around. So this is my suggestion, and trust me, we're going to be discussing this. And to take away from what you just said, we'll talk about ecosystem, we'll talk about the need to really aggregate and pull everybody together. The need to really create something. I know that's a very difficult job because, you know, essentially one of the things we need to overcome in this country is this spirit of self. Everybody just wants to be their own boss. But I think if NICE will take up that challenge of really saying, just like he said, one singular tool that you can easily use to aggregate is really by reporting. It's really by creating, I mean, the tech space is doing very well today because the little thing everybody is doing is celebrated. And just like what you said, and really incorporating that people need to be told, people need to know what people are doing. And you know, there are mapping projects that can be done today. For example, all these projects I'm hearing here today, I check them online, they don't exist. And I'm worried. I mean, in this day of technology, all those fantastic radio programs, I check radio school, and I'm also seeing radio school in Lagos, in London. Oh, yes, I'm saying that those are part of the thing. The website is like yesterday now. You know, I'm not sad, I'm not undermining. Okay, we'll talk about, you know, technology is not just about the processes of implementing education. We'll talk about communication here today. Look, if you do stuff and you don't shine it, you're like winking in the dark. And of course, just like we always say, the reason why funding, of course, I don't like the funding thing. The reason why people in the private sector don't kind of put money behind things is that we can't actually develop a business case for some of all this. I can't remember a radio program like this. The advertiser should be rushing you with money. You want to put money in that radio. I don't think there's any better program that anybody, Nestle, all those guys that are selling all those products, who want to put big money. Because you have viewership, you have listenership. And this is something that can actually connect to their CSR. So I think that, you know, the final thing is, I think out of every program of this, there must be one project, one, out of all the various recommendations that the platform must adopt as something we're going to actually create a situation room around, and people who are interested join you like the NICE platform to execute that project within the next 1 year, then we can report interest and progress the next time.
Okay, maybe a final one from...
Thank you so much. My name is Paula Salau, and like he correctly said, I'm very happy that we had this opportunity to come together. For me, this was more like education and stimulation, because when we are working in isolation, we are weak, but when we are together, we are actually strengthened. So I am resounding that call for us to collaborate and work together. Yes, it is hard, like he said, particularly in our culture, us working and wanting to be shining stars by ourselves, but we should realize that we do need to be together. We need each other. In fact, we can't exist without each other. So I'm very, very happy that we have this, and I'm hoping that following from this, before we get together in 2018, because I will be here in 2018, God willing, I hope by then we will all be working together, and like he said, that we'll have a project that we'll all be involved with together. Because it's one thing for us to just come together, but we actually have to have something that all our hands are in together. So I'm hoping that that's what we will do, and I'm hoping that we'll follow up from that. So it's really been wonderful, and I want to say kudos to you guys. I've been at some of these other conferences, and I have to say you've been very, very organized. Your staff, they're very, very, how will I put it? They're very pleasant, and they're very helpful. I've been emailing them for, wow, I can't even remember. But anyway, at least they respond, and they're very pleasant about it. So you guys keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those excellent comments. We leave for feedback. We like you to tell us what we do well, what we prefer for you to tell us what we're not doing well, so that we can improve. So in terms of what the next steps are, I'm hearing very, very strongly that we need to focus on building this coalition. Yes. There seems to be a lot of work to be done to establish this as one entity, you know, that each and every partner, whether you're a private sector, NGO, donor, government, that every single partner can feel like they're invested in. And we can then work together on different types of projects, perhaps in smaller groups or smaller collaboratives. So if that is what I'm hearing, and if that truly is a priority, then that is definitely a commitment that we can make in the next 1 year. That we as an organization can drive that effort to bring us all together. We know that not all of us will come together eventually, but we can drive efforts to do that. We can bring in some expert knowledge to help us to truly build a coalition that is impactful and that is useful to us all. So that's something that we can raise our hands up and say that we will do. And the other thing that we can definitely commit to is continuing to share knowledge, resources, providing you with newsletters so that you have information on what other people are doing, you have information on what opportunities are out there for resource mobilization of the partnership. That definitely we can commit to. I'm hoping that other people in the room are wanting to commit as well. Do we have any commitments that people are really wanting to make in this room? And if you don't commit, I will call your name so that you can make a commitment. I'll start with Brian. Abiba. Brian, you're preparing your commitment. Abiba.
My commitment is that...
Abiba, tell us which organization you represent.
I'm from Center for Girls Education. My name is Abiba Mohammed. I'm from Center for Girls Education. And when you talk about commitment, I think mine is a personal commitment for me to be able to attend the 2018.
How many of us make that commitment? Yes. Emmanuel, cameraman, come and take your picture. Keep those hands up. Please keep those hands up. Okay, so I think a lot of us commit to attending this 2018. Brian, you had mentioned that you wanted to make a commitment, and then there's a lady here who wants to make one. There's a gentleman here.
That I will be here.
Should we start with you at the back?
That I will be here in 2018.
You'll be here, we will all be here in 2018. So besides being here in 2018, what will we commit to ensure that when we come in 2018, you know, we've truly made a difference in the 365 days. Will it still be?
I will commit myself fully to anywhere around research, especially the one that regards to policy. Now, what has not been mentioned thus far is the ability of the CSOs to do policy analysis. Because, like they say, after God is government. If you must engage God, you're engaging by prayer. And if you must engage the government, it's only by policy. And then from policy analysis to policy advocacy, policy dialogue. And I don't think the CSOs are capacitated in that area. Then secondly is on result-based monitoring and impact evaluation. It is the only way to show the truest of evidence, and it is the only way to inform policy if we can demonstrate impact. So I will be willing to engage first and foremost in anything around skill audit survey so that we can be able to assess the gap among the CSOs, and then we can know how to build their capacity. This is just one of the
Thank you so much for those three. A round of applause for Brian. Which organization do you represent?
Freddie Pierre Development and Educational Foundation.
Thank you very much. So thanks so much for those three commitments. Another round of applause for him, please. He's committed his time and his skill to help us think strategically about policy analysis, about results-based monitoring and impact evaluation, which puts you in pole position for additional resourcing from donors and other sources, and skill audit surveys. I did one last week, and they are incredibly useful for us to identify where we are, what we have in terms of our skills, what we lack, and who has what we lack. Tayo.
My name is Dr. Chris John. I work for Global Spring Consulting. I'm a business development expert and also a communication specialist. I want to give a commitment that I would want to volunteer in the area of partnerships, advocacy, and also working with the National Assembly. Maybe when you are down from the podium, I would like to have your contact. There's a project we are doing engaging with the National Assembly on issues of policy development. So I would want to find a way to link us up with that network, because it's a national network working through the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. So we're engaging directly with the National Assembly, and the Senate President is the chairman of that coalition. And so since we're talking about policy, we will have to find a way to work with the National Assembly. And one of the things I've taken away from the National Assembly, the Senate President has said to us that if they don't understand what we're advocating for, then definitely we should be sure they cannot legislate on that. And usually when I have opportunities like this, I always also advocate that we need to engage with them so that they can understand what we are saying, so that they can legislate effectively. So it's a very interesting platform. And then I want to volunteer anything that you want to do around Abuja, that you need a foot soldier to run around and get it done. You can be sure that you have
Okay, that's like Kilimanjaro.
We all
How
have,
will the rest of us climb that?
we all have a foot soldier in Abuja now, so we hope that we will not inundate you with requests. But thank you very, very much for those contributions, especially around policy advocacy and engaging with the National Assembly. Thank you for contributing your time and your skill and your knowledge to that.
Okay, Tayo Oloshide from Mind the Gap. Three areas that we're thinking for us is going to be just easy collaboration with what we're already doing. I'm not in the education space. I'm in the business of mobilizing resources, connecting resources with great projects like this. So number one thing is, we just want to make a commitment openly about being part of this in 2000. Opportunity to really put our story, make it visible. It's one thing to have a website, it's another thing to have search optimization so that people will know what you're really doing. And third is, in terms of course, foot soldiers, making it louder. I think needs to be a lot louder, not just for noise making, but in terms of so that people who know who can be a part of this could also be a part of this. That's in terms of communication. We'll also be very glad to be a part of it. So thank you very much. Lovely.
Thank you so much for those commitments, for teaching us how to mobilize resources, of course being part of this in 2018. Mapping impact so that those of us that have a story that we want to tell can have that story told on a global platform and amplifying what it is that we're doing here. Thank you, Tayo from Mind the Gap. We have a couple more.
Okay. Good afternoon, all. Yusuf Chigaba Youth Educational Development Initiative. I just want to say this. From May till date, the submarine has begun to surface. We are getting out of the water. So it's a good thing. And from the commitment I made in May, I'm reiterating it, the social media campaign. We're going to get this across to everybody. We were supposed to start a coalition with Yemi and Chigozie. I think we should revive that and drive this forward on social media. It's the easiest, it's the fastest we can get to everybody. This hall should be filled up in 2018 next. And I commit to that also, in 2018 next.
Thank you, Yusuf, for that wonderful commitment to social media campaigning in collaboration, with the Brilliant Center. We appreciate that.
Okay, so in addition to that, what we started when we came into Abuja last year is for the past 13 months, we provided an opportunity and platform for EdTech practitioners, school owners, administrators, NGOs, and CSOs to meet once every month in Abuja. And it's a platform for people to share the information about the work that they are doing and also drive some kind of synergy and collaboration for organizations working in the EdTech sector in Abuja. And so I'm using this medium. I think I will get the email addresses of everyone that registered for this event and begin to invite you to sessions that will be happening in the next couple of months. Interestingly, last month we had a session around data and evidence. We had guys from DFID, we had Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's people, and a couple of other organizations doing stuff. So for us, we see that we are understanding the trend, what is happening now, and we are discussing, having conversations that matter. And I feel like this will be a platform to get everyone in Abuja who wants to share, who wants to learn, who wants to network, who wants to collaborate, to come around to the Relent Center. And also we have an online publication, and it's community focused, only that we create the content from different organizations. And anyone who wants to share something on that publication at no cost can come around, and we're willing to commit to helping you share as well, just in addition to what he said.
Thank you so much, Chigozie, for those commitments. So those of you who are based in Abuja or come to Abuja, there is a platform for you to meet once a month if you're interested in education technology or if you're working in the edutech space, and also for you to have your project information shared on an online magazine, online publication. Fantastic! I think that's wonderful. And for those of us who have more commitments to make, please put them in the evaluation form. These commitments are important because you're not committing to Tech Center. You're committing to every other person in this room to say that this is what we're doing to support each other. And I think that that's a very powerful thing to do. The government is not here, but we have their commitment to extend an invitation to the Nigerian Education Conference, which they have now begun to hold annually, to extend an invitation to the coalition to actually participate in the advisory committee for that. And on that note, I just want to say thank you again. You can expect a communique from this, which you should actually share and disseminate widely because you were part of the development of that knowledge product, of that information and communication product. And in closing, I just want to share a very, very short story that some of us may know. So once upon a time, everybody say time. Once upon a time, there was a little bird, and it was a hummingbird. And the hummingbird was flying around the forest because there was a fire in the forest. And it was flying around, and a hummingbird is very tiny, it's a very small bird. And it was going to the river, and it was taking drops of water, and it was dropping it on the fire. And it was a huge forest fire, and the big animals were all running away, the elephants, the antelopes, everybody was running. But the hummingbird was going to get water, and he was dropping it on the fire, and going to get water, and dropping it on the fire. And then the elephant said to the hummingbird, "What exactly do you think you are doing?" And the hummingbird replied, "I'm doing my best." And that is exactly what we are doing. So it may seem like we're not doing much. How many are we in this room? What have we achieved? But the reality is that we're doing our best in our projects, in the work that we do, in our participation in this event, in the communique that will come out of this. We are demonstrating that we're doing our best. And by so doing, we are getting other people to join that effort. Other people who also have strengths, who also have capabilities, who also have a passion and a voice in the education sector. We're getting them to do something as well. So I want to leave you on that note of encouragement and hope that things may look gloomy in Nigeria today. But because, like the hummingbird, we're doing our best, we know that tomorrow will be a better day for this country. Yeah. So I wish you a safe journey. And we'll travel back home so much again.
Please continue clapping as she gets on the stage. Thank you very much, Dr. Monica. I think that's all I tell you. And with that, we say we have come to the end of Nedis 2017. Do have a safe journey for those of you traveling back. For those of you going home, have a safe trip back home. I am Okoyebi Olubeye and I have been your compere for the last 2 days. I will see every one of you next year, same time, same station. Thank you. For those of us who would like to join the coalition, you can just see any of my colleagues at the back, or you can send an email to nedis@tepcenter.com.
I don't have network on my phone.
Also, those who took materials from the DRPC stand yesterday but forgot to register, please do well to register. Please make sure you don't forget any of your valuables around. Your phones, your chargers, your PCs, hold them.